We're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet So Hail, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. And today we are talking about Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 4, No Win Scenario. And I'm so excited to talk about this episode. It rounds out like a nice little 4-part arc, if you will, and has a nice, neat little ending and leaving us also thirsty for more at the same time. So really excited to talk about that. Welcome. Look at these wonderful guests, and I think we have one more coming, so hopefully she'll be here soon. But welcome back, Stan. Welcome back, Ken. Welcome back, Braxton, and welcome back, Marcel, and also welcome back our audience. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And I missed one person because it's not a welcome back. It's welcome to Trev. Hello, how are you? Yes, you.
Hello. I'm good. How are you? And sorry, my dog was also trying to introduce himself, so I was on mute for a second there.
No worries. Ooh, what did I do? How to make us all big? We're like the Hollywood Squares almost. We just need 3 more people, and then we'll be. And then I can be Jim J. Bullock in the middle, which I always loved when I was a kid. That's really cool. Trev, it's so good to have you on the show. Your long time listener, first time caller.
First time caller, yes indeed.
I stole that from Stan. I think he said that last time. Well, welcome to our show, and if you would not mind, we'd love to hear a little bit about who you are and how you got into Star Trek.
So, my Star Trek story is like a little on the tame side. I was maybe 6 years old, so it was like 1980, and just randomly caught a rerun of the Enterprise incident. Don't ask me why I remember the exact episode, but I do. So there's just an episode on. I started watching because it was so colorful, interesting, and on a spaceship, and I was like, "What is this?" At 6 years old, I didn't understand the purpose of or the point of the episode. I was very confused by transporters at 6 years old and had lots of questions. So I immediately ran out, grabbed my brother and my mom, and I was like, "What is this? Help me understand it." And they gave me a little bit of information.
Nice.
But
I still have trouble understanding transporters completely, by the way, so don't worry.
In fairness, the people that invented the transporter have difficulty with understanding the transporter. But yeah, I was just hooked from there, and then watched, I think the first film I saw in the theater was Search for Spock, and then every series that premiered from then, I was, at the, glued to the television during the actual premiere of the pilot episode. So
very cool. So, and then you've been hooked ever since.
Hooked ever since.
What's your favorite Star Trek series so far that you've seen?
It's very difficult. It's like picking a favorite child. But
I like that answer.
The one that speaks to me the most is Deep Space Nine.
Oh, nice. A lot of people say that. That's awesome. Look at that. Like, Marcel's giving a little thumbs up.
Yes.
And everything. Well, this is a big.
I was a Niner defender from the beginning. So like when Next Gen fans were like, "It's not really Star Trek," I was very much
good man,
politely in their face, contradicting that opinion.
I wish you were in my face, because I was one of those people that was like, "What are we doing on a space station? Why aren't we on a spaceship? Like, doesn't make sense." And then I was also a complainer when Voyager came out, because I was like, "Why are we in the Delta Quadrant? We're not going to get any Starfleet action. Like, what's going on here?" So yeah, I wish you were in my face, because now Deep Space Nine. I did see it when it aired up to like season, I think 4, and then I was like in my 20s and life, got a little bit different. Like, so we didn't have like a DVR back then or anything, so I couldn't record them. And then I got into them when they came out on DVD, and I love DS9. I think it's a superb show. So good choice in that being one of your favorite shows. Oh, and here's Father in the audience from Text Track, and he says, when Sohail rewatches the later seasons of DS9 again for the first time in a long time, he will like DS9 more than TNG. Wow. We'll see. I don't know. Star Trek Picard's reinforcing all my TNG love, but also, to be fair, it does also mention other shows. And looks like we have a new member in our audience, Brooke Marino. Nice to see you and welcome. Lovely to have you in our chat. Our chat's pretty cool. Sometimes they go on tangents of their own. in there, and then sometimes they'll have questions for us. So if you guys could keep an eye on the chat along with me, and if you see anything interesting, just like highlight it, and I'll put it up on screen, or we'll talk about it. But let's get right to it. So does anyone, now you newbies know how it goes, does anyone want to do the episode summary, or shall I do it? And I think I have a short one, by the way, if no one wants to do it.
I'll do it. I have a short one also.
All right, one rule though. No, you don't have to like Jack Crusher, but you may not insult the man, or I will come for you and I will mute you. Is that understood?
Understood.
That's the only ground. All right.
I agree to your terms.
All right, go for it.
Okay. The Titan is drifting toward the gravity well in the inside of the nebula. The crew has to science it out to get out of the nebula and like restore power. They also have to find the changeling, and they do it all and come out on the other side to something beautiful. This episode was super dense, and a lot happened. But like I feel like that's it in like 15 seconds. It's kind
well
of simple.
Done. You did a better summary than I could.
I would have titled this episode "Put Some Respect on My Damn Name." Like my cats jumped off my lap like when I yelled, like when Seven was like, "Oh, she calls me Commander Seven out of respect," after she just murdered that change. Like I was like, "Yeah!" And my cats like jumped off.
You know now why Shaw doesn't call her Seven.
But I enjoyed so much about this episode. It was amazing.
Very nice, very nice. Marcella, what'd you think of this episode?
This episode continues to remind me why every time I watch this episode at 3 o'clock in the morning every week, I need to just stand up and I just need to say a big thank you to Terry Matalas and the entire writing team of Picard. It's like Terry Matalas. No, but seriously, it's like Terry Matalas went into the writer's room and said, "Guys, I appreciate what you did for the first 2 seasons, but I'm going to do something completely original and completely awesome." And himself, along with his team, they just continue to surprise me every week. They have a knack of writing these characters with a sense of dignity and respect that I have been craving from Picard. And this episode is no different. This episode is goddamn amazing in so many ways.
Very nice. Stan, why don't you tell us what you thought?
I really love this episode. We got a lot of lovely continuation of tensions, a little bit of resolution, recommitting to who these characters were and are, even though they've changed and developed. It was a really good end to, like you said earlier, sort of like the first act of this season. So we have a lot of mysteries still at play while we're getting some really nice resolutions on a few plot points, and excellent acting all around. I'm just excited to talk about it. You are on mute still.
Yeah. Push the button. There you go.
Stan, thank you for letting me know. Just as an FYI, you're on a different mic than you usually are, which is fine. You sound fine, but just letting you know in case that's something that you want to fix or have your engineering department come up and help you with. Trev, why don't you go ahead and go next, and
Sorry, guys.
We'll get Ken next, and then I'll say my little piece.
So I was sort of glued to the television last night. I wasn't expecting to be as satisfied with the resolution because I keep waiting to be let down for some reason. I think it's because there have been some seasons of some series where I feel like as the mystery starts to become unpacked, I'm not really thrilled with the gift inside. It's not that it's poorly written, it's just not where I thought it was going to go or liked where it went. And I keep being, for lack of a better, engaged but engaged in the story. I'm loving that we're getting answers to some mysteries and then new mysteries introduced, and we're not so far, I think the longest mystery has been like 3 or 4 episodes. Like we're getting answers faster and faster, but we're also getting new questions, which is keeping me interested. It's crazy action with very few action scenes, which is kind of crazy that they can give us that much just sort of info dump dialogue that's still interesting and still makes me feel like I'm watching an action series. So I'm loving it.
It's really interesting that you said that, because I think the live action Star Treks have really learned something from the animated Star Treks, especially Prodigy, where I felt like all the mysteries were like really beautifully timed in terms of like when they were revealed or unraveled, or just you got an extra clue here and there. And so I think Prodigy did it really well. I remember in our discussions just being really impressed. And I think all the other Star Treks are just like, oh yeah, let's try to reorganize it. Because you're right, like there was a time where like sometimes the mysteries would be just dropped completely, or like it went on too long and you're just frustrated waiting week to week. So yeah, it was like, I feel like this season of Picard's handling it a lot like how I imagine, like how I noticed that the animated series were handling it. Ken,
all that said, I do have nitpicks, which I'm sure we'll get to.
We'll get to don't worry. There's room for nitpicks. Oh, 1 second, guys, everyone. Michelle, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
How are you?
Very good.
How is everything?
Everything's good. We're just going over like what everyone thinks, and so we're gonna go to Ken next, and then we'll let you go after that. If that's
cool. Awesome.
Excellent. Go ahead, Ken.
Thanks for having me.
So when I watch these episodes now, I think of all of you, because I think, here's stuff for the Bev heads. Oh my goodness, there's things like that.
A good time.
Yeah. So I thought this episode was phenomenal. I agree with Trev, though, that there are some nitpicks, but I thought it was incredibly well done. Again, another amazing mix of incredibly strong character moments, like the scenes at the end. The double scene at the end, which are just super tearful scenes, and then the shock of the very last scene, of course, the cliffhanger. Brings us to the end of the arc. But then, as others have said, it creates whole bunches of new mysteries as what is going on here. It was just incredibly well constructed, incredibly well written. As Marcella said, it was an incredibly well written show, using that 5-year flashback, and then using that to carry us through the whole arc of the show, to the big emotional finale there was fantastic. All the characters were served incredibly well. I thought that this was an amazing Shaw episode. And I thought that all of the characters, right down to the bridge crew, again, I kept thinking, there's the helmsman. I know who's really excited about seeing that helmsman smile. So that kind of thing. So I kind of watch it through the eyes of all you guys, my friends, with this show too. But yeah, that's my quick summary.
Right on. Michelle, you're up. And by the way, you've been this is a nice little completion to a 4-episode arc. So how do you feel? Like, give us all your Crusher thoughts. Go ahead.
I mean,
not all of them. You want to save some for the Crusher convo tonight, right?
How honest do you want me to be? I don't know.
All the way honest. No, always.
Yeah,
always
I mean, I have feelings about the storyline on like a meta level, like on how this was conceived and what they've landed on Beverly. But this episode, I really enjoyed just as a Star Trek episode. As a fan of TOS, as a fan of TNG in general, if I put my feelings about last week's episode to the side, which was really hard, this was an epic Star Trek story told. I mean, Jonathan Frakes did an amazing job directing and acting in this. And it had character beats. It had to boldly go, to seek out new life. Yeah, Bev. All right. Yeah, we got a good line. That's awesome. They made you look horrible, but you got a good line. Was it worth it? I don't know. We'll find out. On the internet forever. I still love Beverly Crusher. Okay, so I am still standing. I am still Team Beverly. I don't agree with the decision 100% that she made. They're going to have to do a little more work to kind of help me understand that. But I'd say for this episode, what I loved was all of the different stories coming together. So you have Shaw and his reveal. You have Picard and Jack and that lovely story. You have Beverly, like just figuring out that this is not just a random occurrence. Like she's getting the ball rolling, and then she calls Riker out. Like I love that the ready room scene, right? And then of course at the end you're like, oh, Farpoint, like yeah, it was the good callback. And it was, I saw somebody online say, why is everybody in awe of space? Like, oh, they've been seeing this. It's like, it's part of being human. It's like watching a sunset, like you climb a mountain, like, yeah, you've seen it on TV, or maybe you even climbed a mountain before, but it's going to be beautiful because you're experiencing it, like, and you just almost died in this show. So and I love the bridge crew. 7 was fantastic. I'm like, can we get Beverly and 7 team up? I like would have liked to see more of them, but
I'm hoping it's coming. I'm hoping
yeah,
it's coming.
but
actually, Rezigu had a question for you
solid.
about 7, which is, hey Michelle, are you a 7 advocate? I don't hear enough about 7 in these forums.
Oh, I love 7. I think she's fantastic. And I like the way that she's developed in Star Trek Picard, because I actually watched Voyager when it originally aired. And then I started to rewatch it before season 3 of Picard. And I love the way that she has grown. And I did enjoy everything with Raffi. And I hope that we get that team up again. But I think with 7, that's so interesting is that she and Picard have this parallel, right? Although she, her story is, I mean, her coming out of where she was with the Borg is very different. But I love that she has just developed. I like her better as a rogue. I know a lot of people want to see her captaining a starship, but I see her more like she was, like just out there fighting for people. But this episode, I did enjoy it despite and then that scene with Jack in the bar with Picard. I'm like, she has points. I want to see that conversation. I'm going to talk about a little bit about that in Crusher Convo, so I don't want to ruin it here. But but great to be with all of you. I see some familiar faces: Stan, Ken, Trev, Marcelo, Braxton. It's like I'm digging it.
It's like a pre-show for the Crusher Convo. It's cool. By the way, shout out to Jessie, who's not feeling well, but she'll be at the Crusher Convo.
Yeah, my poor co-host. I meant to mention her at the top. Just send good vibes her way. Hopefully she'll be good. But we're pulling for you, Jessie, and hopefully I think she's perking up and but yeah, some positive vibes. She's not feeling too well.
And Crusher Convo goes on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a Twitter space. And right after that, we have The Salon, hosted by Stan and Trev. So I have all the hosts here today, which is really, really cool. And Marcelo hosts a podcast. Braxton and Ken don't host a podcast yet, but they're co-hosts on this podcast. So that's all good. Ken, wait, you do actually you do host a little bit on Talk About It, right?
I produced the Talk About It podcast,
oh, you produced
but it's not a Star Trek. It's not a Star Trek.
Right,
podcast.
It's not a Star Trek podcast. So yeah,
Okay.
you're gonna have to start one.
I am.
It's all the rage.
Everyone's
doing it. Well, I've been waiting for you guys and everyone else to see this episode for like a little bit of time now, because I was lucky and also cursed to see it early. It is a curse because you're like dying to like talk about it and you can't, but then it's also lucky because you get to see it beforehand. But I only saw it once, so I didn't see it I didn't have access to it where I could watch it like as many times as I wanted to, so I was dying to see it again. And let me tell you, this morning when I watched it, I was a blubbering mess. I was just crying and crying and crying, especially like at the ending. It just felt like such a powerful thing. The music was so superb that I think it's called the family theme, but it incorporates the Titan theme and stuff like that. And just like, I don't think we've seen other instances of like writing energy waves and things like that. Like the Soliton wave comes to mind. And I think in like, I don't know. I don't know. We've seen similar things, but this was like pretty interesting. And then also the nebula, like everyone was speculating, what if it's alive? Maybe it's like in the animated series, our planet is missing or something like that. And it turns out to be very similar to Encounter at Farpoint. There's these like what are they, like squid-like spacefaring beings. So like now we have another cool spacefaring life form to add to the roster, which is neat. Along with the what are they called, the space whales, Discovery that we just first got them there. What were they called?
Gormagander.
Thank you, Gormagander. I was gonna say the what was I gonna say? The thing from Stranger Things, the Demogorgon. That's what I was thinking in my head. Anyways, so that was like really touching. And like again, you guys mentioned Jonathan Frakes, but like that little moment of him, everyone just kind of Todd Stasher was saying this on the Ready Room, where like in the hero's journey, when you're in the belly of the beast, which is like a kind of like a device used in storytelling, that's when like characters can become vulnerable and like say their truth, and so to speak. And we were literally in the belly of the beast, so to speak, or the womb, I would say, of the beast. And like we got all the characters' truths. Like it was a pretty amazing. I can't believe they crammed all that in just under an hour. But we had like Shaw's backstory. We got more information, on Jack and like Jean-Luc, and Riker, of course, like that ending where he's talking to Deanna, and like he finally had like a breakthrough, like he saw something that inspired him to like live again, because he admitted that he's been kind of dead inside after Thad's death, like which I think he died at the age of 10, and like we estimated that it was like 8 years ago or 9 years ago, I don't know, but grief doesn't have a time limit. Grief can come back, you can be reminded of grief. And so Riker's been living in this grief, but he's also kind of like blocked out like his feelings, and it was sad to hear that he was saying like that Deanna, who feels everything, couldn't live with someone who was feeling nothing, and like that was the source of their tensions. And so it was like I was relieved to find out what it was, because I was like really worried about the Troy Rikers. And so I was relieved about that. I was also relieved that Imzadi was laughing at the end, and she was like, and then she asked like, "Are you guys okay?" And he's like, "Well, we'll see." Like, "Are you guys in trouble?" And he's like, "We'll see. We haven't found out yet." But yeah, superb episode. Lots of great moments. Let's get right into some of the highlights of the episode, or some of the points that you guys want to talk about. I guess I'll start out with talking about how did you guys feel about like the way the first 4 episodes kind of with the Titan escaping finish off like a little arc, or like a little mini story within the season.
It was really great. I think it did a great job of setting the table and setting the tone of what this season is going to be about. And I really like that the story for the most part has been isolated to the Titan, with Riker, Picard, and Beverly, and that we've gotten sprinkles of the things that Worf and Raffi are dealing with, but for the most part, this section of the story was focused on the Titan, and I really appreciated that, because I think what we're going to do now is we're going to pivot the other direction, and we're going to start dealing with Raffi and Worf's story, and I want to see how that incorporates to the bigger storyline that was introduced on the Titan as we go here moving forward.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously there was an arc. It's all about rebirth, right? And maybe rebirthing relationships, rebirthing
really great.
family relationships, and like especially even with Riker in this episode. That was poignant to me, that his story arc, like he admits that he went with Picard. See, again, no one's really caring about Beverly here. He's like, well, I went with you because I was running from Deanna, like Picard had to be pushed to do anything. I'm not going to rant on Beverly here. But
how many screaming goats are we going to do?
I don't believe that, Jean-Luc didn't care about Beverly. I think that the reason that he went out there in the first place was to go and see if Beverly was okay.
After Laris basically had to like talk him into it, and 20 years, we don't know how. These are the questions I still have.
It's true, he was reluctant. You're right. Like he was.
Did he look for her when she disappeared? A Starfleet officer. Again, don't want to get into it here, but I think
we want to save some of the stuff for Crusher Convo.
Well, and also like I don't want to make people mad. Like I don't. I get that this isn't
Braxton was making
for
people
Beverly.
mad, me mad, like a week ago. So
I know
I was
Braxton's
too.
not a Bevhead. I don't know
I was
what to
too.
say about
Dude,
that.
yeah,
Starfleet boy. Last night I went out to dinner with a couple of friends. I was telling these dudes how terrible Picard was, and this young lady like walked past me as she was walking out, and she was like, "Oh, enjoy tomorrow's episode of Picard. I'll be watching." You know, I was like, "Oh, damn, I feel so bad like slamming Picard like that," and like within like ear range of people, and they heard that. But just to prove me a liar, at least for like this episode, this was a phenomenal episode. You know, I think that this was the first episode that I really enjoyed. A thing that bothers me about Picard is I think the show alienates me a little bit. I think that the show devalues Picard's found family, and I come from people that, you know, like found family is most of the like family that we have, you know. And I think that the show, like, it just alienates me a little bit. Like, you know, like, oh, like, what about your real family? Like, I don't know. Like,
I can
just
feel
think
that. I go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I have a thought on that because I thought that too.
But Picard just gives me that feeling these last 2 seasons, and I don't like the way that it makes me feel sometimes. I just think it devalues like people like me and people
think
like my friends and
when-
stuff.
Do you
So
think because of the focus on like Picard connecting with Jack and like that, or are you talking about like him coming back to his found family? Because there's like, I guess the TNG cast are his found family also, but so are the cast of Picard. It's a very complicated thing for
like, I don't know. Like, I
Yes,
felt
yeah.
like last season they were like, oh well, like you have your career, but like that's not enough. Like you need to have more. Like you need to have like a wife and like a relationship. And now they're
Right, I
like,
see what you
ooh,
mean.
like you have this great Starfleet family and these people that you love and like people that like support you and stuff. But like, what about your real family? Like, you know, like your found family is not enough. And the show just like gives me that feeling, and I don't like it because of it.
Can I help you?
Yeah.
I think I have something that might help. The last 2 seasons and the first part of this season for me have been about exactly what you said, him not really valuing his found family, and he's wrong. and they're showing us that he was wrong to not value them and hold on to them because he needed them.
I like that. And Michelle, what was your thought?
Well, I was going to say Beverly's part of that Starfleet found family, right? So it's kind of like a both and. And for Jack, it's interesting the way that they couched that last scene, because normally you would be applauding Picard and saying, yes, it's all about, but for that, and I could see why that scene would hit weird for people, you know, like I have found family. I think a lot of us, you know, have found family, and that's what Star Trek is all about. But I think that for Jack in that moment, he's wondering what I think he wants Starfleet. I think he wants what they have. He's looking at them and he's seeing that found family and he wants it. But he's also like doesn't like what it did to his father. Like that I wonder in that moment if he's thinking, so you didn't like, is this why you didn't like come find us or something? Like I'm trying to pinpoint why Jack is so angry at Picard, and I think it's that arrogant dismissal of people that have families, right? Because he was on the Enterprise where they had families on the ship, right? Not just found families, but actual families, and he was like nervous about having kids on the ship. So there's this like, what's your family? What's your found family? How do you define family? I think for me, it's a both and I could see why it would make you uncomfortable, because that's like Star Trek is found family.
But I think that they did try to explain that pretty well in that scene. You know, the juxtaposition of cutting back to that scene, the last flashback to 5 years ago, where you see Jack sitting at the bar asking the question and Picard's flippant response and all of the Starfleet personnel giving him claps. And then you juxtapose back to what Picard realizes. I think what they're trying to say there is that he's remembering that this is the kid who asked that question, and he's pulling that memory forward. And he's seeing how devastating that was. And I think that, Jack was probably there at 10 Forward 5 years ago to connect with his dad. And when Picard said that, he shut the door. So the question as to why Jack is so angry is maybe not that Jack is so angry. Maybe angry is the wrong emotion. Maybe it's that, he just felt dismissed. But the idea that you said that Star Trek is all about found family.
Left out like Braxton. Actually.
Yeah, left out. Star Trek, Star Trek is entirely all about found family. And in a movie that I know a lot of people despise or just don't like is Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
I enjoy all the found family moments in that movie.
Yeah,
I love
and that moment where
I love that movie. I'm sorry. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. A lot of people dismiss it. But that final scene when Bones says, I thought you said people like us don't have families. And Kirk says, I was wrong. I mean, that's all of what Star Trek is right there and continues to be, I believe.
It's a bad movie with a great last line. No, I'm just kidding.
Get out. Leave my bridge. No, I'm sorry.
I've killed us all.
Get off the bridge.
Any other thoughts on this subject before we go on to the changelings?
Well, I think the real problem and the real villain of this episode is clearly those nosy ass cadets.
Stan, your audio is really low. Can you fix it?
Yeah.
Let's try.
There, what did you do?
I turned the mic to face my mouth like it's supposed to
be. Bring it closer, like this. Like come over. Let's do ASMR.
Instructions, and
there we go.
Those nosy ass cadets were the real villain of this episode, because if they could take social cues, Jack could have had a real conversation with his father, not primed by all of these war stories he couldn't know from his own dad. And him saying a real family, that was obviously a very pointed, and we know why he had that pointed question. And of course, an Admiral Picard is going to be like, fuck you, dude. Starfleet is the only family I needed, because it's the only family he ever really had.
Right. And it did have that vibe, though, also ha ha ha, young man.
The sheer blanking hubris of Picard was on display there.
Young man who looks rather familiar and fetching like myself, like I did when I was young. You're wrong.
But to Michelle's point, it absolutely showed how the sheer effing hubris of Jean-Luc Picard. He was all proud of himself, and he really screwed the pooch when he said that. So that was it was very interesting to see that, because the Jean-Luc Picard character, the growth of this character over this whole 3 years is just really fascinating. I think it's amazing.
There's a really great point being made in the chat, Sarah. You can see the chat highlight, the one highlighted, but the one just below that, she also says Jack also sees this as a rejection of his mother, which, yeah, of course he would.
Because it is, guys. I hate to say it. Everybody's saying
I disagree.
Everybody's like, he
ghosted.
He respected her wishes. We don't know how she left. Like, did she leave a Dear John letter? Or did she just take off? They've
said a few times that she just cut off contact with everybody. I feel like that question is
when somebody
answered.
does that, how do you not pull a Sub Rosa and go find her and find out what's wrong? How do you just let her go? This is my mini rant about Bev. It's like there's no consideration for her point of view in this show right now, except for the 3-minute scene that we got where Picard had absolutely every right to lean into her. And I really need a flashback or something from Beverly's point of view, because I'm getting impatient with she was awesome in this episode. She was great.
How did you feel about that moment, Michelle, when Picard said, can I have a moment or two with Jack? And she hesitates, she looks, she says, yes, of course, and just turns and walks away. How did that
it was interesting, because she's deferring to her son, because I think she's given Jack the freedom to be who he wants to be. I don't think she was this hovering mother after he turned a certain age. I think she's given him the freedom to be who he wants to be. She's given him the information about his father. She's still trying to do you remember that first episode? The first thing she does is lock him away.
Yes.
She's incredibly protective of him. But
he hated that. He hated that she did that.
Absolutely. Because who's going to being but this is who she is, right? She has flaws, and that's a flaw, but it kept him safe. So she looks to him to say, what do you think? She's not just going to be like, of course, Jean-Luc, if her son doesn't want to, you know what I mean? Like, it was kind of a mirror to last episode where Jack's like, whatever you say in front of her, you can say in front of me. Like, he's protective of his mother because he's the one that's been seeing his mother depressed as hell for the last 20 years.
Yes, but I
Hopefully-
would say, Michelle, that did not keep Jack safe in that first scene. I think it deprived Jack of protecting his mother, and I think it actually was emotionally painful for her to just block
Well,
Jack
he had
away
to
and
be,
not protect his mom.
Again, it's a nice analogy with season 2 Picard and his mother, right? So the troubles that Jean-Luc had with his mother, maybe some of the things going on with Jack and Beverly. I think that Beverly just didn't want him. They were being attacked for a while, and she was just done. She's like, nope, I'm handling this now.
That's true, but also I'm thinking, as you know, whatever's going on with Jack as the asset, as that strange.
Yeah, what is this?
Said,
I don't. She doesn't need another special son, guys.
But she's probably aware of how special Jack is, and she was trying to protect that.
Yeah, but then
let's skip ahead a little.
Yeah,
I was going to talk about the changelings, but I guess this like kind of ties in since we brought up the speaking head thing and whatever.
Does that kind
Do
of
you
look
guys
like
have
a
any?
Riemann to you guys?
No. Oh.
No, it's got to be tied. It's got to be tied
Kind
to the
of.
Great Link somehow.
Kind of, but his face sculpture. I mean, granted, I'm the biggest Nemesis supporter on the planet, but his face sculpture looks like a Riemann.
I don't know
looked
why
at
we
the,
keep going back to Riemann's. Honestly,
I
think
so
they're
I
like
look at-
nothing. They're like nothing
Hold on.
characters that Star Trek
Hold-
doesn't really care about, and I'm not sure
Hold
why
on.
people are obsessed with them.
Just-
But anyways, carry on.
just
We're so, like, wow, look at
Just
Stan's
because-
head, like no.
just because I said he looks like a Riemann, I'm not saying that I want him to be one. I'm just saying it looks like one.
He looks.
On my second watch, so it is a
Wow, you
Riemann
sound
blade.
much better. Whatever you did, that's like great.
It is a Riemann blade that she uses to
Right.
cut off her arm,
gosh, it's
but-
true.
but
Those damn
it was
Riemans.
just to provide part of
The
herself for
damn
that communication thing. On my second watch, the dialogue made me wonder if she was talking to a distorted lore.
Interesting.
There was something about the dialogue, particularly towards the end of that conversation. It
Oh,
really
now I have
made
to
me
go back and watch.
made me feel like it could have been lore, and like we have voice distorting technology now. He uses face changeling distortion technology.
Interesting.
I mean, it's an interesting theory. It would certainly, we know Lore's coming. We know Moriarty's coming.
Cake
I mean,
says
who's
I think
missing?
Go
We
ahead,
don't
sorry.
have Lore yet. We don't have Geordi yet. We don't have Moriarty yet. We pretty much have everybody else.
Yeah, there's a lot. We're only 4 episodes in. Remember, there's
Geordi
like,
hasn't
we're like,
appeared yet. I'm kind of
yeah.
like waiting for the big Geordi reveal.
I haven't
And so
seen
far-
the next episode, so I can speculate with y'all. But I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna see. Yeah, so I'm excited.
So
About
far,
that
Deanna has been Charlie of Charlie's Angels. Like we need her to-
Exactly.
Oh, Deanna. What are they
Yeah.
doing with Deanna? They said everybody's getting a good storyline, but right now,
We're
not
bringing-
so happy with the Deanna appearance.
We're bringing the world's most famous empath, and we're not letting her near other people. It's a little
Although
weird.
she did help save the episode because who brought her up? Beverly.
Beverly did. It's true. Advocating for the women and
Women
and-
advocating for women.
for women.
I'm down for it. Let's do it.
All of you guys have to come back on the finale because like it's so interesting to see like how you guys, some of you are frustrated with this, you're frustrated with that. We're 4 episodes in, so I can't wait till like the whole season, and then we can really be like, oh my gosh, like did it work or didn't it work? It'll be really fun with this
That's
crew.
the problem. You're coming into the middle of a story and it's not.
But it's
fully
also
told,
gonna
so you're
work.
like just
Fun.
dying inside.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna
It's part
work.
of the fun.
Have
Marcel,
faith.
who said that?
It's gonna
Of the
work.
heart?
I'm
Of the
glad
heart?
that you
Right,
have
faith
that
of the
in
heart.
yourself.
Yeah.
Your favorite character didn't get torpedoed in the second episode.
Yeah. But look. All your concerns about, about Diana not showing up, about Jodie showing up, about Beverly not getting what she deserves just yet. I'm just telling you, be patient. Terry will not let us down. I believe in that man, and I know he's not going to let us down.
I will say something about Terry Matalas. First of all, I also believe because of 12 Monkeys, like I really like that, but I'm really impressed that he, I know not everyone here has had great encounters with writers and producers, for various reasons, but I'm really impressed that he like cares enough to like be like, how's your picture quality? And he's like trying to himself
He's
like
so
fix
nice.
these things and like
Like,
you know,
what do
because
you
he's
mean
proud
they
of what he
spoiled the
did.
changeling reveal in the closed caption? Let's fix that immediately.
Right, let's fix it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's terrible. So yeah, like Rezigu in the audience, our friend our friend Jill says, it seems Jack truly is the target, not as a stepping stone to Picard and then the Federation. And Joanne says, and if someone doesn't respond to anyone after a few attempts, then respect their choice to be left alone. So we don't know yet how many times or what anyone did,
Just
but like
tell me what happened, and then I'll make a judgment. But right now, I don't know that
But
he made any
going back
attempts
to-
or a million attempts, or if she left a note.
Something Riker said in episode 1 is really telling, though. He's like, why would she cut us off like that? It sounds like they did try and they gave up because she just cut them off. So, like, I don't know. We'll see. I
But if
have
you
a
go back and watch that scene, Sohail,
yeah.
Riker asks Picard the question. It looks like Picard has an answer.
It did, didn't it? It was all about it ended badly, and now all of a sudden, anything that happened between them doesn't matter because she hid this kid. So we don't know what happened. I agree. Like, if somebody doesn't want to be found, but this is Beverly Crusher, who could be dead. She could be kidnapped. She could be. I mean, come on,
But
guys.
she clearly made her choices, Michelle. I mean, Beverly made
Well,
her
yes.
choices.
This is where I have an
Right?
issue, though. We don't know what went down. Like, we don't know. She cut her. How did she cut people off? Like, what did she do?
But I
Did she
think-
just disappear? Did she leave?
You
a
want to
note?
know why?
You know. Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
believe
I why.
I agree with
Everyone was
Marcelo that I think this is going to unfold through the season. I think we will have that answer. In the meantime, we could continue to be super frustrated about it until we get the answer. But I think
Welcome
that
to
we
my
will
life
get
for the
I
next
think we will
7
get
weeks.
a good
I don't-
answer.
yeah.
Also,
I think
no
Michelle's
one
looking
looked
for a good like theory too, right? Like you're looking
Yeah,
for us to like, yeah, exactly.
Like,
no
'cause
one
if
looked
you-
that hard
if you-
because she was in London for several years.
This is what I'm saying. Jack went to school in London.
Couldn't
I'm
find
not
you in
really
London now.
seeing
And
people
it's not
looking
the
too hard
25th
for her.
century.
Like, that's always been my thing with Picard. I never felt like he tried very hard with her. Even with these 5 times thing, like they're throwing stuff at us that kind of, you have to look back at the films now differently, even though they weren't playing that. And my whole thing with this was just that it was, and I respect so much the writing. I love this season. I love Patrick Stewart. I really do. But the fact that we know that it was Terry Matalas and Patrick Stewart in a room thinking about Picard needs to have a son, and then Sir Patrick says, what if it's Beverly? Like, not thinking of the ramifications that could have on the character, not thinking about, those were like, they did
Right,
eventually
but I don't
think
think
about
that
it.
happened, Michelle.
No,
Oh, I
but
think that-
Terry said it did. That's what Terry said happened.
Yeah, but I think once they came up with a decision, I think Terry thought it through. Like I don't think that he took Jean-Luc's idea and said, "Oh shit, what am I going to do now?" I
Sir
think
Patrick.
that he thought it
had
through.
The same idea himself. It was in an interview where he was talking
Right,
about
right.
what he was,
Right.
how he wanted to have Picard to have a son, and he thought Beverly would be perfect for it. It's just that right now in this moment, there's a lot of stuff going on in the fandom, and it's just like Beverly Crusher is getting
Patience,
a little
patience.
Don't tell people to
As
be
a big
patient
Bev
about
head,
things
this
they
is the
love.
first time she's back in 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
Gates is
Completely
doing
understand.
great. She's selling it. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
But it's just frustrating.
Also, it's a TV show. You don't have to be patient. You can be frustrated if you want to. That's like where
Thank
that's
you for
the
allowing
one
me my
place where you.
feelings. I
Yes,
appreciate that.
yes. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
I have to suffer through this from season 1 and season 2 of all of y'all complaining. So
I
get
just
over
wanna-
it.
I have never had
Not
a
as-
single nitpick about any episode of Star Trek ever.
Never.
Benjinium wants to know: what do you guys think? Is Vatic a changeling, or does she have just a changeling hand? Like, what do you think? What do you guys think of Vatic and the change? That's what
I
I
saw
really
an-
wanna know.
Somehow possessed by a changeling, or it's changeling tech or something that has her leashed to them. It's their way of either controlling or keeping track of her, but I don't think she's a changeling.
I'm now wondering if that is the thing that's more dangerous than the portal weapon. Maybe they weren't actually talking about Lore. Lore is just out and working with Geordi, and this changeling tech developed during the Dominion War got out. Because something I noticed, a friend sent me a tweet noting somebody saw the lines on Vatic's face. You could also see on Sneed's face And so, like, is there some kind of control technology going on? Is it all the changelings like we've heard from the Worf and Rafi's story arc?
But we know Sneed was
I don't know.
Oh, on Sneed's face.
Mm-hmm.
On the Ferengi's
Well,
face.
And we saw a changeling killed in this episode that did not turn to dust like they usually do, and like they did in episode 1. So I'm curious.
That was weird, right?
Oh yeah, that was
Sneed
weird.
getting beheaded didn't turn him
form.
into dust. Turn him into dust if he was a changeling. So there's like I forget who said it earlier, but like we got so many more questions in this episode, even though we had a nice bottle episode.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
What?
And she
what
held her
about-
form too, as a LaForge after she died.
Oh, she
No.
died and like kind of turned into a gray. Yeah, you're right. She did hold her form. That's interesting. That is interesting. That is.
Yeah, I
really
didn't
And
understand
maybe she
that.
turned
know
to
it's not
dust later
LaForge.
off camera, but
Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I was
And-
like, Seven didn't make a mistake. That was brilliant. That
and
was a
since
great
since
payoff.
it came up, I do want to note that Sydney LaForge did not mention her daughter or her father in this episode. So good for her. The changeling one did, though.
That's true.
She did.
Yeah.
My father, the inventor of the toaster strudel, would not be happy for you to not treat your friends with respect.
It's
Did
going to
you-
be like a requirement moving forward. Every time you're using an episode, Jordy has to be mentioned.
Yeah.
Wait, so we have the one changeling that was on the ship, and they turned into when they changed. We saw better that they have like fleshy bits in them, and I wonder if that's the reason. It's like it's very interesting because yeah, they had like fleshy weird bits. So obviously they've improved the way that they used to. I guess they used to just absorb blood, but now they've got like parts of people like fat and muscle and things like
That's
that they
gross.
carry around with them. It is gross. So that was like really weird. But now I'm like the hand thing and like it floats and it's talking like if it's connected through subspace, like it is weird. Like we've never seen that, right? Like on DS9 with the changelings. Did they
No.
ever do anything like were they able to like communicate that
Not
way?
that I
It's-
remember from freshly.
It reminded
binging
the only
it.
thing it really reminded me of was the guy in the vortex talking about the temporal Cold War from Enterprise. That's a little bit of what it reminded me of, but even that's not quite right. So
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I'm very curious about what's going on. And then, okay, so speaking of changelings, then the third time that I watched it today, I was like kind of tuned into Jack, and like his reactions are very interesting, and like that ending, like so what the thing he sees these like he's looking in the mirror, he's having like a hard time, he's hitting himself. It's very intense, like he's like in some kind of like pain. And he hears like find us, like they're saying like the voices are saying find us, you will find us or something like that, or we'll find you or something like that. But like he's got to be tied in somehow. And I feel the same. It's like, let's not have another like quote unquote like superpowered child or whatever. But at the same time, maybe like it's interesting because Beverly, I don't know, it's very interesting. Like go ahead.
I
don't think. Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just a theory just popped into my head of what if he was part of stealing this tech from the Daystrom Institute? This
Jack?
tech that either grabs control or perhaps gives a humanoid, a solid, the ability to do some shape shifting, and he's having a reaction to that attempt.
Oh, is he David Marcusing this like the cheating on the Genesis device? Like, is he
No,
like?
that'd be weird.
I hope not. That would be weird.
Right, we're fresh out
I
of
love
Wrath
the
of Khan
theories.
references.
Cake is
No,
Eternal
I-
says also seven shot the other changing 3 times, and he only turned to goo one shot to Sydney, and she died and kept her form. I'm confused. I think that changeling. I think 7 probably like learned from that experience and was like, oh, I definitely need to like up the intensity on my device because
Phaser.
I was only able to like really shock that changeling. And I think before on DS9, changelings were resistant to phasers for the most part, right? Like they could, I mean, like Odo could create a hole and like the phaser
Right.
would go through. Like he was very
Yeah, the
clever
one
like that.
pretending to be Martok had to be shot like several hundred times by multiple
Oh, wow.
Klingons. in
I
that
didn't realize
episode.
there's like that much. Wow, they're really
Or
powerful.
several dozen at least, but there were
Although-
like 8 to 10 of them just like.
Do you think they're weakened because they haven't been regenerating, or like
that makes sense too.
Right.
Oh,
Mirror
that's interesting.
Odo got blown up pretty simply though with the phaser, so that's kind of.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I realized
that's
it was
true.
the mirror universe, but still.
different
Did you guys
settings.
catch the picture of Odo on the pad?
Yeah,
I was
with the
like,
bucket. Yeah.
Mhm.
Somebody,
No,
somebody
I-
said that was their nitpick of the episodes. Like, why does everybody have the same bucket? And here's my suggestion. My headcanon is it was a box set. They got sent out in their little jar
It was a box set.
and they came inside the bucket because the founders knew that they were going to need a bucket to regenerate.
Oh, that's great.
Unless it was specifically stated to be a Bajoran bucket, but I don't remember that.
Maybe
well.
it had something to do with Odo. Like they knew that Odo used that, and they just reused it. They
It's like the little
modified it.
hats that they send babies home with. It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
just a little bucket for a baby change.
I
Oh,
also don't
Deacon-
remember the goo residence. That was something new. That the goo residence.
Did
is
it
in the
remind you of
bottom
like
the bucket.
Ghostbusters 2? Like
A little
Resi
bit,
goo.
yeah.
with that on the building? Was that Ghostbusters 2 or was that the first one?
The
Where
first
you had
one
it
was
was the
Ghostbusters
second
2.
one with
It
Vigo.
was 2. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's Vigo.
Via my cover
I love that.
I love that in the chat we're getting a debate about the inconsistencies in the weaponry against the changelings as well, because Lord knows there are never inconsistencies in Star Trek, none of the series until now. But what I love that I think something that is quintessential Trek is needing a little bit of headcanon for at least one thing most episodes. Like the Enterprise D forgetting that they have other shuttles. Like you could perhaps send other shuttles to go get Wesley and Jean-Luc, but nobody thinks of these things. And in this episode, I'm thinking about like what definitely feels like an inconsistency with the weaponry. Like you can headcanon away with different weapons, different settings, etc.
Well, the
yeah,
holodeck
Warpath-
explanation
fun.
was pretty cool. I liked that.
I loved
We finally got an
I'm
explanation.
glad they
after
included
years
it
of
at
wondering-
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
that they
actually
included it.
said it out loud. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, for the love of God, they have no power. And here they
Yeah.
are. Because
This
they
has
know,
been-
like, someone like me is going to say that. So, like, let's take care of that.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna stop taking so much space, but this was my
please.
like I loved that moment because for you all have heard me in so many spaces say, if they just had one more line of dialogue, I would not give a shit. Like, tell me the transporter's offline or whatever, like that one bulkhead on the Enterprise. Like you can't beam through it. Like I need a reason why we don't have Admiral Cornwell. I need a reason.
that one bulkhead.
Yeah, just one. But here we got that one line of dialogue because it's gonna like they can't be unaware that geeks like us exist and are gonna tear it apart. So that one line saying, "Yeah, there's an independent power cell because people are gonna be terrified and want refuge." Like beautiful, loved it, loved
I
everything
think it's
about it.
special. I think it's a special gift when they do satisfy like the really hardcore kind of geeky viewers who are like really wondering about these things. But I have come to like feel over time that it's a privilege rather than a necessity. Like it's not necessary, but it's great when it happens. Like agreed, 100%. Like it's
Yeah,
so
I think
satisfying.
It
to
depends
know.
on how glaring of a thing, right? Like in this one, where
Right.
it's been a full episode of we have no power, and yet you're running the pleasure room. Like, okay, what? Like here, it's necessary. If a character's gonna die, I would argue that's a necessary point. But you're absolutely right that sometimes it can get gratuitous. And to Michelle's point earlier, we definitely want to see some of these things, not just be told, particularly by other characters' perspective when what we're looking for is this character's perspective, etc.
So it is
It
a
was
little
something-
weird that everyone in Starfleet loves a bar in Los Angeles.
No, here's the thing. No, here's the thing about that scene. I thought first of all, I thought the scene between Picard and Jack in the bar was great, but I had a big problem with that. When they first enter the bar, Picard says, "Oh, this place is very special to me," and I go, "Excuse me, you only came across this place in last season. How could?" And I'm like, "Why in the hell?" Excuse me. I was like, "Why in the hell didn't Termitalis make this 10 forward on the Enterprise D? Why not? It's like, why did you make it this dumb bar? Why didn't you give us the original 10 forward? Don't give us this dumb bar."
They had
Sorry.
the set already, Marcel. It was built. Like,
Yeah,
gotta use
yeah,
it.
I know.
Money.
I know.
We're gonna get other payoffs. It's gonna be awesome. I think
Yeah,
we're gonna
and
see other things, so they had to like hold off on that, you know.
Yeah,
I know,
agree. And
but you know,
also
but
it is
whole-
important to him. Like
I know.
that scene in season 2. It's debated now with this new information. When I go back and watch that scene, before I thought Jean-Luc was like, "Oh, how cute! She named her bar 10 Forward." Now I'm like, oh, I'm making sure I'm in the right place. Like it's a different vibe. You know what I mean? Like it's so like I get what you're saying, but yeah, I like I think he did the best he could, because like, you know, Dave Blass said this too. It's like we have this expectation that Star Trek has like unlimited money, but when in fact they don't have unlimited money. And I'd rather get like all the actors back, for example, or even more surprise actors. I don't care if 10 Forward's the same, like, you know, or like that they're reusing the bridge. Like that doesn't bother me that they didn't design a new bridge or any of that stuff. I think if we do get a show set on the Titan or the 25th Century show, that I think a lot of people are kind of like now starting to cozy up to the idea of, like, you know, continuing the adventures with Seven and, you know, other characters, maybe even Jack, who knows. We'll see how it ends. I think he's gonna die, unfortunately, but we'll see.
Yes.
Yeah. Like,
Yes.
No.
All I
Come on,
want is
Braxton, help me out.
I want
I'm
them to
just
call it
pred-
Star Trek in the 25th century. That's what they want them to call it.
You
Buck
want
Rogers homage.
I think that I think that's funny. That is the Buck Rogers. That's right.
Stepmom Laris.
Stepmom Laris.
Stepmom Laris is the next
Oh.
A
spin-off.
polyamorous family would be awesome. Beverly.
No.
and Laris.
Well, I mean, sure, yes, but
Like it would be pretty cool. I don't know, like
Look, I am all for a Beverly and Laris team up. Let's do it. Like,
yeah, let's do it.
I'm
No,
really
also-
sad that she didn't come on this journey with Picard, because I feel like
So is Jean-Luc.
yeah, I'm sure he is. It was
He
what
is.
was that story with him and Jack Crusher? Like it was all about the whole reason they
Oh,
sold
yeah.
the shuttle.
We're talking about the bar scene. Like, yeah, that was funny. So he was like, so we found out. What do you guys think of Jack's age being like around 24? Does that fit with like what we've been speculating about? and
Timelines
stuff
are
like
fluid.
that? Timelines.
I don't care.
It's
I
fine.
don't care.
Doesn't
an
that
actor.
when,
I
so
don't
how
care.
long
It's
ago
fine.
was Nemesis? Do we know?
24 years ago.
Yeah, so it was right around then.
God, I gotta rewatch Nemesis now. Be thinking about Jack Crusher.
There's
Like, they said why his name, like Picard was not offended at all that he was
No.
named Jack.
he would have done the same, which I loved, by the way. That it was very cool. But also, by the way, there's like a cut someone put together of all the deleted scenes from Nemesis, and it sheds
Yeah.
new light on. You saw that with Beverly. And
Yeah.
like,
Well,
all
Jesse
this
had
stuff
been
like that.
posting too. Jesse's been posting some videos
Oh,
too
is that-
with it. I've seen all the deleted scenes because that was Beverly's only story arc in like all the movies. So that's
And
all
they
we
cut it
got.
all.
And
Yeah,
they
it's
cut it
like-
all. It's all on the cutting
But
room
it's-
floor.
It's clear that Terry Metalis was tuning into those scenes because there's a lot of like interesting connections or
I'll
tie-ins.
save the last
Yeah.
dance. Like, hey, come have dinner with me. Oh, I'm too busy. Like, okay, yeah, this is probably their relationship, you know? Like, it probably really sucked. Like,
I mean, we know those of us who dive into like the behind the scenes and everything like that
We know
and
why.
Gates McFadden mentioned it on her interview with Kate
yes, she
Mulgrew.
did. She-
We know
Oh,
why.
we know
Yeah,
why.
exactly. We know. So Michelle knows what I'm talking about. But
well,
like,
this is
just let the-
again why I had mentioned how this story of the son, Terry Metalis told the story in an interview about how the son got, you know, Beverly's now the mother. And that's why I'm still a little salty, because it's like, you got to own a little bit of this Picard, like, because your actor was not really owning
And-
anything
and
of
we
what
have to
happened
re-
to the character
yeah,
in the
and
movies.
so yeah, that's the thing. I think in the 90s and the 2000s,
It's meta.
there was like
It's meta.
yeah, it is super meta. It's a lot. There's a lot of layers. It's true, but like just staying in universe, I would say that like, well, sorry, no, not in universe. Staying in the production side of things, it seems like Sir Patrick really wanted Picard to be like Kirk a little bit more and like have like different romances perhaps and like, you know, be more of an action star. And so
Well, look
like
at the
that's the
story
direction
with
they went
Jack
in.
Crusher. The story
Yeah,
could
in the
have been
films,
about
right,
anything.
exactly.
The story could have been about anything, but it was about Picard being his roguish self, even after getting stabbed through the heart, right? Like there's a bravado about Picard that, you know, and I get that, you know, but it kind of leaves other people in the dust, and it's like, well,
No, but again, look, you just gotta like. I'm I'm sitting here turning green in the face. You got to be patient. I was like, I understand that your complaints are valid and they're completely valid, but you got to be patient because I think that Terry's going to do something amazing with Beverly specifically. I think that he's going to pay it off. I don't know.
You have to understand, they've been saying that for 35 years. Beverly Crusher fans, I have not been 35 years long suffering, but I know many fans who have, who are, really struggling with the story right now. And we can't, we're just in limbo right now. So it's hard to process, that's all.
Right.
I'm enjoying it. It's like good suffering, I guess. I don't know what you call it.
Happy suffering. Right?
Yeah.
Happy suffering.
Like, thank you. Thank you. I don't know. I'm appreciating it, but it's hard.
The other thing is about the scene with Jack and Picard. What do you guys think, like, at the end? Do you think Jean-Luc realized in that moment when they're looking at each other on the bridge? Do you think he realized, oh, wait, I remember who this is? Yeah, okay. What do you guys think of all that stuff?
That's a cinematic trick. If that wasn't the point they were trying to make, then they made a really weird choice. I think because earlier Picard was like, has Beverly already told you this story? And then it starts to click later on. He absolutely rememred seeing him.
Oh, you're right. Jack was about to be like, well, actually, I think he was going to say, and then Shaw comes in. Let's go to Shaw next then. Let's talk about Captain.
Oh,
wait,
okay,
we can't leave. We can't leave this without saying one thing. Hold on. We can't leave without this saying one thing. I'm so happy Jean-Luc Picard dropped the F-bomb finally, because I waited for this moment, because I was like,
there are people that are really upset about it. I was surprised.
Yeah, and I'm glad they're upset. Come at me, all you upset. I'm inviting everyone who's upset to come at me, even you guys in this
no,
panel.
I don't care. Like,
I don't care.
I guarantee you half the people that complained about Clancy dropping it are not complaining about Picard dropping it, and that tells you everything you need to know about those people.
The sheer fucking hubris of these fucking complaints.
10 effing hours, which is how long Picard's gonna be.
That's true.
That's it. We are in the shuttle, trying to dodge asteroids.
Well, these 10 hours are going by much quicker than Jack and Jean-Luc had to wait for. In fact, I don't want the game to end, to quote Jean-Luc in season 1. All right, now we can move on to Shaw. Sorry. You had a point. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I really despise Shaw from moment one. I mean, I came on our first discussion of the year and I had a stroke on the air. It's on record. No, I did. I did. You remember, right? I was having a stroke.
Okay, but like not a real.
Yes. Yeah. No. I was having a happy stroke. But anyway, I'm really pleased with what Terry and the writers came up with, because to me they justified him being an asshole this whole time. But I still think he's an asshole. But I understand why he's an asshole, and I understand why he is the way he is. So I really like the way that Terry and the writers brought that whole thing around, with him telling that story at the bar of him being a part of
Wolf 359.
Yeah, thank you. A part of Wolf 359. That was just great.
I think it was great too, although it has been done with Benjamin Sisko. I was thinking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah, but I do think what I was thinking about that, and I didn't get it till I saw it the second time, was everyone, there's been a lot of talking about dead naming 7, right? And I think that this is why he did it, because of him being so involved with Wolf 359. And it doesn't excuse it, but it makes sense. And this guy knows, he's very well aware that he's an asshole. And he says it multiple times. Sometimes
the moment I felt sorry for him was when he says, "Sorry, everyone." At some point, being an asshole, became
replaced
charming, right? Which is, I was like, oh, that's heartbreaking, because he was probably like charming and like, like wonderful at some point. So hopefully he can get back to that. Maybe he'll find it. But carry on, Ken. I'm sorry.
And when Picard said to Shaw, "Yeah, you are a dick from Chicago,
a
dipshit from Chicago," and Shaw's like, "Oh," suddenly he's impressed. Well played. If you meet the guy at his level, and obviously Shaw was super instrumental.
Same with Seven. Actually,
everything.
She was like, "You're a dick, not a changeling."
Yeah. Right. If you weren't a dick,
I'm sorry.
That was it.
Well, the payoff was Seven at the end there. She just like nicely corrects him. She's like, "No, LaForge calls me Seven out of respect."
Yeah.
And that's where he kind of knows that it's his issues with Wolf 359, which I think we all
clocked
with the Borg in the beginning.
It's the issue with the Borg.
Yeah,
right?
it's his issues with the Borg. It doesn't excuse him taking it out on Seven. He chose Seven to be his first officer, I think, for a reason. So I do enjoy Shaw. I think he's like a nice curmudgeon, and I love the actor. I think he's fabulous. Very real. He brings a realness. Like, get Riker and Picard. I don't need just no. And
look at what your heroes have done.
It's funny that he's in like a boot though. I guess sickbay ran out of magic. Like, fix your stuff pills. I don't know.
They don't have enough power.
For the story.
They're running a 10 forward simulation. There's no power to fix his leg.
Look, I'm not here to nitpick. I really did enjoy this episode. I promise. I know. And I think Shaw, now Jesse had said this online, and I saw a couple other tweets too, and I connected to this as well. So I'll give Jesse, my co-host on Crusher Combo, the credit on this. The scene reminded us a lot of Robert Shaw from Jaws. Did anyone wonder he's named Shaw? I don't know.
Quint.
Like Quint.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Robert Shaw was the actor.
Played by Robert Shaw.
Yeah, I did not. I'm sorry. That's such a great comparison. I did not think about that.
Yeah, there was a couple of Jessie definitely made it. She did a nice little, side by side, and I was thinking that too. I'm a huge Jaws fan as well as Jesse and I have a lot of similar interests. And Jaws, that scene where he talks about, we delivered the bomb. I think it was a different weight to it. Like, Shaw was a lot more emotional, but it felt like a great monologue, like a really solid thing. And you need that for Wolf 359 because it felt a little bit like a Cisco retread, but not really, because he was a different situation. Like, why did they pick me? And spending his whole life trying to justify why he was alive and his friends weren't. Like, why did the
guilt?
Yeah, and it's definitely a vet story. It's like a soldier story, and this is PTSD and how does being in the military affect people. Like, that's a little bit of an issue they're touching on here,
and it
the
is
trauma.
different than what we've seen in Cisco was brought up. Cisco wasn't the only one at Wolf 359, so seeing more of that, and this is a different aspect. We didn't hear about Shaw losing his spouse and becoming a single father. This was his survivor's guilt story,
and losing his found family. He said all of them were my Jack Crusher. Those all of the people were my Jack Crusher. He even goes so far as to say that. And I really like that scene because they could have done a flashback, but I'm actually glad they didn't. But they did do an audio overlay that had awesome. like audio references to it, which is kind of how you hear when you remember traumatic things. You kind of hear them more than you see them sometimes. I don't know, like it's like a thing. Like, I mean, it depends on the trauma, I guess, but like,
well, it's like in the battle in season 1 where Picard's remembering on the Stargazer where he had to abandon ship. They tried to do like a weird flashback, but
that's right, where like
like a hologram type
ghost,
ghost flashback.
Right.
But it reminded me of the battle, and like I thought that the audio was so effective.
It was so good, and also when it switched to Jean-Luc, you could hear parts of Locutus and the Borg too. Like, it was very
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for Picard in that scene because he just accepts it. Like, he
gets it.
That was the brilliance of the scene. It did something that I don't know if it intended to do it. It was brilliant. If it didn't, it's accidentally brilliant. Which is, it draws a comparison between his reaction to Cisco's reaction and his reaction to Shaw's reaction 25 years later. So when Cisco reacted to him, he shut down, but was sort of gruff and sort of dead-faced about it.
Yes.
With Shaw, he actually gets, like, he completely understands it. He
says that.
He's not over the guilt, but he's accepted the reaction that he's going to have from people,
And Beverly
he feels their pain.
Beverly was playing the clip, one of his captain's logs from that time before he got abducted by the Borg, right? So
when they were caught in the nebula.
Yeah, so
when they were in the
I
nebula,
think Jack is well aware of what happened to Picard, and
he's like,
had no
hey,
issue
now,
with. He's like defending his father, which I thought was really nice. Like Jack is very loyal to the people that he cares about, and I think that was a turning point for them, because Jack's like, well, wait, and Picard was shutting down on him when he was just ready to open up. And then Beverly comes in. She's like, guys, I know you're having this heart to heart, but we got to figure out how to survive, because that's what I do. So we're working on
Jack,
this. We're going there.
Jack almost said dad. You could see it in the way the actor played it. He almost said dad.
He's such a good actor. You have to have somebody that's solid to go up with Patrick Stewart. That's why you couldn't unless you could find a really awesome 20-year-old, like,
right.
You have to just kind of accept it and move on with the
Timothy
age thing. I don't mind it.
No, I'm just
Timothy Chalamet could do it.
No, I disagree.
And Picard almost said son. There was almost dad and son there, and it ended up being Admiral. And when Picard said, "Thanks for your time, Jack, I appreciate it." I mean, that was just wrenching, right? To me, it was a wrenching scene.
Yeah,
do you think he was just accepting Jack's rejection again, or like what was that about?
I think in that moment. In that moment, and also I think in that moment he was just kind of like a little. I think the emotions were probably overcoming him, and he was doing the thing Jean-Luc always does, which is like to like shut the emotions up. But then of course the scene changes quickly. Braxton, any thoughts on Captain Shaw from previous episodes to now? Oh, you're on mute.
I've had a lot of fun with Captain Shaw over these couple of episodes, dude. Like when he was reading Captain Picard for filth, the camera was like so tight, and then like after he walked out, like you could see all the people, and they were like, oh. I was like, oh, I think that Captain Picard had a really rough few hours, after Riker told him that he's killed everyone and get off the bridge. And then a few hours later, like, he's got to endure this. That was super tough. I absolutely love that. Like, so much character development. It's like, oh, he's from Chicago. Oh, at that time he was a goose monkey. Nice. Yeah. And he, like, I loved when he walked in. He's like, oh, let me tell you about the Picard that I know, and then he just like went in. I just said, damn. It was so heavy, dude. I also loved
his captain's jammies. new cosplay opportunity alert, everybody. Captain's
jammies.
See
the jammies? How did I miss the jammies? I got to go back and watch the captain's jammies.
Also,
that's right. He was wearing jammies.
I mean, jumping ahead, but I also, just like, loved his character growth, like working with Seven.
That's really nice.
Yeah, that was cool.
The end was cool with Shaw. By that point I was won over, and I was kind of like, I think he needs to take control of the ship again. Like, I think this is his ship and he needs it back. You gotta get this place back, guys.
You saw the exchange between Riker, again, a lot of face acting in this show.
We're all about the eye acting. I'm all about the eye acting.
We also got an introduction to breath acting. Like with Beverly when she said,
"Oh no,
of course I can." It was great.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was like I'm not making fun of her, Michelle. I'm saying
okay, good.
She put so much power in that. Like you could feel the character saying, "I know I made the choice, but I have wanted this."
She wanted it.
Of course, I can give you a moment.
Yes.
I
misunderstood.
Acting,
Thank you.
Acting and now the breath acting. Gates McFadden is a gem.
I shouldn't have doubted
she's
you,
fantastic. She's fantastic. Okay, I haven't yet listened to the Kate Mulgrew Investigates, but I'm looking forward to it.
She's really good.
Wonderful. Yeah.
But she definitely said in that scene too. She was like, it was just the way that she approached Picard, like the way that they had that encounter. there was something there. Like there's definitely something moving. Like they're definitely moving in some sort of direction there. And Gates McFadden is nailing it. I think she's very Beverly. Like she still has that like transcontinental accent a little bit, like, but she's also very grounded. That's not the right word for the accent. I think Where's Beverly put that in my head, that podcast. But she has this great
that's a great podcast.
It is. They've destroyed Beverly last episode though, so I'm like, all my Bev friends are turning on me. Not all of them. Jesse's still on board 100%. But we look at Beverly, and in this episode, she's the spark. It's teamwork, and she
Literally.
she galvanizes this team that she's been alienating for 20 years. And she corrals them all together, and together, like to watch that scene in the hallway with Jack, Picard, and Beverly, and to see them all work, it was kind of like I was nerding out. I'm like, yes, I don't know what they're talking about, but this.
I never knew that nacelle grills would be as exciting as it was, but I was like, biting my fingers, like, are they gonna open these nacelle grills in time? Like, is it gonna happen?
Yeah, I know, but
it's so cool.
like, can you guys imagine when everybody is together in one place? I'm talking about Picard. I'm talking about Riker. I'm talking about Beverly. I'm talking about Diana. And I'm talking about Worf. And I'm talking about Geordi. Can you imagine what it's gonna be like when they're all together?
No, I can't.
I can just not wait for that.
I think I'll melt, or I'll just like faint or something when it happens.
It's gonna happen, you know it.
I'll have to be reawoken with smelling salts, and then I'll watch it again, and then I'll faint again, and then they'll have to do it again over and over until I finally see it. So,
somebody hypo spray.
What is the crisis? That's the thing. Is like they're building and building towards this crisis. You saw Riker and Picard and Crusher together, today, and saying, and yes, Beverly was fantastic. Gates was wonderful. So yes, what is it going to be? What is the big bad that's going to bring all of them together? And I think I really do think you're going to have more than just those legacy cast members. I think you're going to have Miles O'Brien. I think you're going to have a few other people because they're going up against the Dominion. So we'll see how that goes.
Bashir, our man Bashir. No, I'm kidding.
They name dropped Bashir when they were talking about Odo in the Ready Room synopsis.
Like
they
right.
really
and
made
they had
a
a nice
point
little
to mention him.
I appreciated the kind of like review also of all the changeling stuff that they did with that little video package.
You're I wrote this fans up. Very good at that.
Crusher crushing it with the science.
Love it. Thank you.
Like that's true.
One thing I noticed, I want to give props to Jonathan Frakes and the whole production team. The cinematography there, we see 7 when we hear Beverly say the word 7 in her countdown, and then the next time it starts at 5, the next time it starts at 3. There was beautifully intricate symmetry in this episode all around. And that was just one really solid example. I loved, we're seeing 7 of 9. We're hearing her count down from 7 from Beverly. It was really, it tingled all of the Spidey senses.
It really did. It was very well. You're so right about that. And these 4 episodes, I just want to see them in the theater. I can't wait to watch them back to back this weekend, where I can just kind of enjoy them now that they're released as a 4-parter.
It's like the Lord of the Rings, like when you binge watch the extended edition Lord of the Rings. Once this thing is over, it's going to be an extended
It's totally
movie.
True. The other thing that was great was when they're all talking about doing what we do best. Like if we're gonna die, let's go out making a difference if we can. Let's figure it out, and that was again Beverly leading the charge on that, and so I did appreciate that. I'm not trying to give you extra points for Beverly here.
Thank you for trying to make me feel better about everything. I'm trying to be optimistic. This is me being optimistic. I know it's sad. I'm sorry.
No,
Jesse
I
would be
can't wait.
like, "Come on, Michelle, it's awesome. Enjoy the ride." Like that would be the.
I also think you're gonna be. I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised. But I don't mind you having low expectations, because that's the best way to, like, kind of like be surprised. If your expectations are set way too high, or if your expectations
Like
were high for them
me?
to get lowered, and then I have a feeling it's gonna be great.
They say be careful what you wish for. This
Yeah,
is
and also
it.
be careful. Don't ever meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Stan, to your point, also to Jonathan Frakes, I've only watched the episode twice, and actually I didn't finish the second watch because I just came right up to the time we started this podcast. Him directing himself, the scene where he is recording the message to Deanna and stops himself, and the cinematography they use where they show him and then they show his reflection in the desk. That choice was amazing. It got me both times I saw it. And just imagining Jonathan Frakes directing him himself and thinking that through. He did a fantastic job, both in front of and behind the camera. So huge props.
Beverly is from the
Was
moon.
Beverly born on the moon?
Yes, she
Oh,
was. That's
I
why they had a
didn't
picture of
realize
the
that.
moon and on the Elios, which was destroyed. Did anybody tell her about that, by the way?
It's
I didn't mean
also
to
why
step
she
on.
loves
it was. Like,
It's
I
also
don't know.
why she
By the
loves
way,
green
your
cheese.
home was destroyed.
I don't know if they're going to recover it, but if you watch the Ready Room, they do a visual effects package, and you can see the next few seconds in not fully done, but the ship wasn't completely broken apart. So in my head, I've decided that they can get that box with Jack Crusher's name on it and his hologram.
I didn't mean to step on your point there, Ken. I thought it was great. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry.
Wait, now
I just
that
saw the
the
comment.
nebula, now that the nebula had like this crazy explosion, would that have dispatched the rest of the Helios?
Oh.
Nah.
Or
What is the necklace
maybe-
that Jack was wearing? Are we going to talk about that? Does the necklace have like a?
I think the space octopi are going to bring the stuff back to the ship.
There's a bunch of space jellyfish making it
Space babies to the
their own little
rescue.
reef. It's an artificial reef.
Oh, it's
now.
gonna be a
fine.
reef
Yeah.
now. Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
kind
Space
of love
jellyfish.
that. It's a space reef with space squid.
Totally a
Oh
Wait,
space
my
what was
God.
the necklace? I need to watch. I clearly need to watch.
What
I
necklace?
noticed he was wearing it next episode. You could see it. I didn't know if it was
But
just the.
do you see
So Hale,
what's
it's not your fault that there was a scene with Jack shirtless and you didn't notice he was wearing a necklace.
Yeah,
There you
jeez.
go.
Jeez.
I may have been looking at another part of his body.
You may not have
maybe
been paying
his
attention
neck.
to his
So
accessories.
you could see it
Eyes-
last
no,
episode
I
on
was
his
on
neck a little
eyes,
bit.
eyes. Yeah, I gotta look back. Go back.
But
Does
it
it-
doesn't
what's
have.
on-
I didn't notice
What-
a symbol on it. I was looking.
Yeah, I was
for
going
a
to say, was there
symbol.
anything on the chain? Or
It
it's just
looked
a
like a
chain?
blank metal. I wonder if it's like a hologram thing where he can, like, if it's actually like maybe memory, like he hangs on to that because he knows he's in danger. So they downloaded everything into Jack's whatever, and they're just gonna open it up, and it's gonna be like Jack's entire life on hologram or something. I don't know. Or maybe
it's a
it's some.
Dan's looking it up.
Maybe it's a hollow emitter.
Yeah. Okay.
What if it's a communicator to Wesley?
Yeah,
Yes.
it could be.
Where is Wesley? I don't know. He's not with his mom.
I don't think we're gonna see him again. I don't think
It's
we're
really
gonna see
unfortunate.
Wesley again.
It's
I
really
feel like
weird.
that's all we know. I feel like that's how we
No,
know that
that-
Beverly's
no.
going to be okay, because otherwise Wesley
No,
would have
my
shown up by now.
God.
I think that's
You know
true.
what?
The
That's
book,
really.
I don't
that's a really
know.
good point.
I don't know about that.
well, the books
Oh,
point
man.
that out, right? The coda, the three
Well,
books.
the Coda
made
books talk about. I mean, spoilers for the Coda books, guys. They
Yeah,
talk
sorry.
about how Wesley has to watch
Thank
his
you.
mother die multiple times in multiple timelines. So not
Yes.
great.
No.
Not great. And I'm hoping
is-
they're not setting this up where the only way Beverly's redeemed is if she dies.
That's a
for
super weird plot
someone.
point because there's nothing that makes him
she's
I'm
not
watch.
gonna
scared.
die. She's not gonna die. She's not gonna.
They're not gonna
If she
fridge
di-
her, right? They're
If
not gonna-
if she dies, I will come on this podcast
Yes.
and I will call Terry Metalis to bear for killing
Oh,
Beverly
he's
Crusher.
not gonna
'cause
care, but that's very
that-
nice of you,
I,
Marcella.
I know. Look, I mean, look. I
Don't come
have
on my
talked to.
podcast and do that.
just-
Do it on
so
Twitter.
check this
at
out.
him.
Check this out. Check this out. Check this out. I actually have spoken to him on several occasions. So if I call him the bear, he might come back at me for it. Who knows?
He'll
Well, put
edit
in a
it,
good
and
word.
he'll be like, we're changing it for Marcelo.
I mean, no Star Trek characters have ever died before and come back to life. So you know,
True.
We got
Not David Marcus, that's for sure.
We got to wrap up soon because we need to have a little bit of space before Crusher Convent.
Yeah, I got to get ready.
And the other conversations get
To
started.
figure out my screaming goats.
Oh, nice. I just want to say Riker throwing the asteroid at
that was awesome.
Shrike.
That's right.
Amazing.
And Beverly had the line. Beverly,
And
Will, you
did
didn't
you
just
just
throw an
throw-
asteroid.
She delivered that so well.
Yeah.
I loved
You
it.
did.
It's so true.
Damn right I
And then
did.
he
Yeah.
damn right I did.
Damn right.
And then he's like, and then later he's like, I love that line.
Says
let's
to
get
seek out new life. And then
Let's
he says,
boldly get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
Boldly
boldly
get
get the hell out of here.
Great line. Also, was
All right.
was this the first Admiral's log? Was this Jean-Luc Picard's first log
since Nemesis,
Since-
they
since
said.
Nemesis? I thought it was very
Yeah.
cool.
And
you
I
know,
liked
back
it
to-
too. It was like with the Shrike behind us. Like I loved all that. Like it was a very nice setup to what's to come. You're right. It's true.
Yeah, and
Very,
to
very
Braxton's point earlier about, you saw quite a lot of evolution from the point where Riker and Picard are in that room where he says, "This is the end, my friend." We all were wondering where that would come, right? From the previews.
Yeah, it
"This
was
is
very
the end, my
misleading.
friend." Yes. And then just seeing Jean-Luc's evolution from that moment where he's just completely is about to say something as Riker walks out of the room and he's just devastated, up to he's back with a full-throated Admiral's log, right? I mean, this one episode, you see this huge arc with Picard, which I think is great. So
That is very cool. Well, why don't you since you brought up that point, let's go ahead and do our ratings and final statements for this episode, and then we'll sign off. I'm giving this episode a 10.5, and because I'm saving like the 11. I know I know there's more coming, but also this whole like 4 parts, like I think just like knock on wood, I hope nothing happens to me, but if something happened to me and I couldn't watch the rest of Picard, I'm already satisfied. I'm already like very happy. I'm not really, don't worry.
Dark,
I want
man.
more. No, but like I'm just saying, like it was so cool to see, like, that moment. I wrote on Twitter this morning, like, great joy and gratitude, like that moment that like Deanna says when she sees the
From both of
the
them.
two, yeah, exactly, for both of them, right? Yeah, exactly.
PowerPoint. Yeah.
And that's what I was feeling when the surprise of what that nebula turned into was so amazing to me. Like that, like, and the way Riker reacts, like I'm getting all like teary-eyed and choked up right now. Like to see, you could see in Jonathan Frakes' performance, like the life coming back into his spirit being uplifted, seeing something like wondrous and beautiful, and like, okay, I gotta stop. But like it was truly conveyed, and the music and like it just everything, it was just like note perfect as to like I think someone said, now that's a Star Trek, and yes, that's a Star Trek. So
That's a Star
like,
Trek, yeah.
that's a Star Trek. So 10.5 for me. Let's go with you next, Brax. Oh, I was doing this. So Braxton first, then Michelle. Yeah.
So I loved Seven's storylines in this show. I loved seeing her sleuth and find the changelings. Put some respect on her name. 10.
Nice. Michelle.
So I really love this episode too. As a Star Trek fan, this is this is an amazing episode. The teamwork, the emotional story arcs, like focusing on character and the science and the problem and working, like it's just, if you want to show somebody what Star Trek is, this is it.
Yeah.
But I need some stuff resolved. So maybe I'll change my ratings once the series is over. But right now, I'm still gonna give it like an 8.5, just
That's
because
really good.
it's an 8.5. But I did love that scene with Jack and like in the bar at the end. Like we didn't really talk about it, but that was a gut punch, and it hit me in the field as a Beverly fan, because I feel like it was a double rejection in a way, in a sense.
Marcelo.
I really love this episode. I really, really enjoyed the character dynamics. I love what the writers did with Shaw, and I love how they sort of explained how he was, why he is the way he is. I really, really bought that. I like how they delivered that. I loved Picard's discussion with Jack in the bar. And I love that Beverly Crusher came up with the thing that they had to do to get out of the nebula. I thought that was very, very cool. Because Beverly never, ever, ever has a winning moment. Like in all of, in previous TNG. She never really got her due. And I love how this season is giving her something really cool to do. I only did not like one thing about this episode. I did not like the fact that they were actually sitting in a bar and it wasn't 10 forward. I know that's petty, but I wanted my 10 forward.
But it was 10 forward.
Yeah, but it wasn't
the other 10 forward.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Guinan took the panels. The panels are there.
Yeah.
From like
yes.
So they're there.
But look. That's really nitpicky, and that's really the Star Trek fan in me going, you should have given me 10 forward from the ship. I didn't want this 10 forward. But with all that being said, this episode was great, and I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Nice. I lost my train of thought. But anyways, Trev, you had some nitpicks too, so feel free to put them in your little final statement as well. Because we didn't really get to
because it was too good of an honestly, it was too good of an episode for me to nitpick. And they're
Okay.
like super petty. But
Maybe
there are
we'll
no
get
rules,
to them
right?
at the salon.
We will. We'll talk about it on the salon. But there's no rules, right? I don't have to do like 1 to 10.
Yeah, so sorry, I forgot to tell you that.
Any-
you can make it nonsensical. You don't even have to do a rating. You can skip the rating part as well.
No, I'm going to give it a rating. I'm going to give it 1,701 space jellyfish.
Oh my
so
and
I'm doing so and I'm doing so because this episode did more and told us more about grief in the Star Trek universe than any Star Trek episode, than all of the Star Trek episodes that dealt with the topic combined. And that in and of itself would make this a brilliant episode. What made this a beautiful episode is that grief was not the point of the episode, rebirth was. And so to tell us that much about grief in something that was about life is beautiful. And I would watch this entire episode as a stage play in 2 seconds. So that to me makes it
had that like
1701 space jellyfish. Yeah.
Very nice. I'm so I love your Commandant of Starfleet Academy pin so much. Is that one people can buy, or is that a specially made one?
Yeah, no, I ordered it. I don't do anything. I'm not that creative.
You mean I missed it. Is it from those guys? It's from Fansets?
No, it's not from Fansets. But it's a magnet. I'll find it. I thought I sent you.
All right, let me know because I need one. I need to
Okay.
wear that all the time at work.
All the time.
Wherever I am. Yeah, it's
all the
cool.
time. All the time.
Ken, what about yourself?
So I thought this was a very, very good episode. Something that, getting back to Marcelo's point about wanting some of the old home week, if you will, is the audio design, the sound design for this episode. You heard things in this episode that you haven't heard since The Next Generation in a lot of ways, like simple things like the sound of the holodeck doors opening and the arch coming and the door chime and various things like that. You heard all kinds of amazing callbacks. And also, I
just want to interrupt for a second. I love the no life support klaxon. That's a new siren. It was very creepy and weird and cool. Yeah, sorry.
It sounds like the Nostromo.
It had that vibe. That's right.
And the one thing, and I did tweet about this. I don't know if anybody got it, and it may not be intentional, but where Seven found the bucket in the light fixture, to me reminded me of when Spock found the phaser on Overload in the red alert fixture in The Conscience of the King. And I thought that was a great little intentional
really cool.
Great
or Scotty finding the uniform in the officer's mess
of Yeoman Burke and Samno, who I don't know why I know their name. It's like
court reporter to sick bay.
So I would give this 8.5 tossed asteroids to the Shrike.
Very nice. Dan.
I loved the episode from start to finish. I would echo what Trev said about grief. I share Riker's existential crises, and I'm working on it myself. This episode was beautiful for highlighting that conversation, allowing him and Jean-Luc to have resolution to their conflict. Every character had these beautiful little moments. The bridge crew, Seven especially, I love seeing her be able to stand up for herself more. And everything else we've already talked about. It was beautiful. I will give it 9.98 space jellyfish this week. My two little nitpicks that are like super nitpicky just for fun noticing them was one was I can't think of a reason based on what we saw that reinstating Seven would not have made sense other than continuing to be insubordinate without more repercussions, I guess. And like I said, super nitpicky, it does not matter either way, but like I didn't see anything that she could not have done as a reinstated commander. And then the second one was when they were in the briefing room and Jack says space babies. I thought it was super cheesy for Beverly to be like, Jack. Like it felt very much like they were trying to have this ham-fisted like mom chiding her son for saying something inappropriate, and like he said space babies, he didn't say like space splooge. Like if you were gonna do it, like yes, get that reaction from people. I just thought it was a little cheesy, but I'm loving the family dynamic that we're seeing and everything else there. More on the salon.
More on the salon. Very nice. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Audience, thank you. By the way, Jill was asking in the audience, Rezigu, our friend Jill was asking about the salon, why it's not recording. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's so that it can remain a safe space for everyone to express things without feeling like it's being recorded or like documented. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because Crusher Combo is recorded, so I definitely appreciate the salon. Trev, Stan, thank you for doing that, and thank you guys for giving us space on Crusher Convo to kind of talk about it too. But I love that the salon is a little more. Yeah, it allows.
It can get wild in there. I was drunk last week. I don't even remember it ending.
She was a mess.
We remember it.
Yeah,
she was a mess.
I wept, man. I was not. So I'm glad, like I wasn't able to come on here last week. It wouldn't have been a good idea at all.
I definitely miss being able to go back to them, and so like Trev and I have talked about it off and on, but I think for now, at least, keeping it as this just exists in the moment that you get to be with us is going to be the vibe for now. But since it came up, I know Jill was also asking, we needed a Crusher Convo style something for Seven and was taking name suggestions. Mine would be Section 7.
There you go.
Nice. Real quick question, because I don't know the answer to this. Maybe you guys caught this better. So Jack's reaction to Bev, she said, we've encountered species before. He gave her a look and got mad. She corrected herself to life forms. What was that about?
Yeah, that's one of those things that it felt a little weird, but I'm wondering if it's like the way, like I said earlier, I thought it was a little cheesy when he said space babies and she had a reaction to that.
I think she was calming him down in general in that scene because he's like, Molly's your uncle, like whatever he was doing, like he was, he was just like really
Bob's your uncle.
You can imagine him as a child. I'm sure he was a handful.
But
by the way, I know a lot of British people, and no one's that cheesy. He's like dropping the Britishisms. Like
I feel like he's doing it on purpose. I feel like it's just
maybe
he's imbued this into his being for some reason.
I wonder if this is sort of like, language evolves, and maybe in the 25th century they've just decided saying species is just not like we say life forms.
He's like correcting his mom, like that's not cool, mom. They're life
species
forms.
Species does denote that it's been classified, because in order to be a species, it would have to have a species name.
I thought the look between them
it's a life
was
form. We just discovered
just like them acknowledging that they've come across stuff before. Like it was acknowledging their history of travel together. I didn't catch a deeper meaning, but maybe there is. Maybe.
It was a weird beat.
Maybe there is.
I don't think he got mad. I think he looked at her like, "Oh man, mom, what's going on?" Like
I heard it the way that I sometimes hear cis straight men say females instead of say women.
Oh, okay.
Like
Hmm.
that's how I took
Mhm.
it. It's like it was sort of like a no, Mom, we don't say that anymore kind of vibe to me. I
It's a
I
good
doubt that's what they
catch.
were going for, but that's the way I interpreted it because it did
Mhm.
feel a little cheesy.
We shall
I like
see.
Fascinating.
I like
Yeah, we
Rezigu's
shall
comment
see.
though. Jake overdoes the British stuff like Worf used to overdo the Klingon stuff.
Yes.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
his
really
dad.
good point.
Yeah.
Oh, he's like trying to impress his dad, and he's gone. Well, Jack, I'm
Just-
actually French.
So, again, Beverly has a son, and it's going to become anyway.
Oh my
There we go. Move on to Crusher Convo for more on that.
So yeah, everyone go check it. By the way, everyone go check out Crusher Convo in the Salon tonight on Twitter Spaces. If you don't already follow Michelle, Stan, Ken, Trev, Marcelo, and Braxton, they're all on Twitter.
Jesse's there too as well. Yep.
Yeah, and Jesse too. Jesse's here honorary. Hope she's feeling better. Real quick, real quick, if you guys want to put your handles in the chat, please do so folks can find you. That would be really cool. Just real quick, housekeeping here on Starfleet Boy. This Saturday we are doing the Star Trek animated series discussion. There's a slight chance it will get postponed, so don't get disappointed if it is, but I'm trying really hard to make sure it's not postponed. There's just like a thing from Starfleet intelligence that I may have to like deal with at that point, so we'll see. I'll let you guys know before the weekend's out. Tomorrow is Text Trek live at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Check that out. They do a very cool deep dive, and Fathery's back from the cruise, so now he can do his screenshots and like all that good stuff, and so check that out. And then Sundays we will be on Trek Central, and this week I think they're able to do 4 people, so we're gonna have a big crew on there as well, so check out Trek Central on Sundays. All right, now we really have to go because you've only got like 15 minutes, so live long and prosper everyone, and we will see you next time. Thank you.